On this episode of Bite Sized, we are watching and discussing the 55th scene of the movie Twilight. For those of you watching along at home, that's from 127:54 to 129:07. And now, on to the episode. Good evening, or whatever time it is, wherever you are, everyone. Hello, welcome, or welcome back to yet another episode of Bite Sized. For those of you joining for the first time, here's what's going on. My name's Ben. I am your host. I'm watching the movie Twilight one scene at a time with a different guest or guests every week. I get someone on the show. I send them 30 seconds to 3 minutes of the movie Twilight, and we talk about it for about a half hour. Apologize if you heard too many cough drop mouth noises during that. I will try to cut down. Speaking of guests joining me today, we have an actor, improviser, and tabletop game master, Jono Mammel. Welcome to Bite Sized.
Hi, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Jono, I'm going to cut to the quick. I'm going to start this interview the way I start every interview on the show. That is by asking you, Jono Mammel, what is your history with the Twilight franchise?
I remember reading the books when I was in late middle school, early high school.
Okay, would this be around the time they were first coming out? What year-ish was this?
This would put us roughly between, I would say, 2010 and 2012.
Okay.
My mom was a librarian, so she had to vet them first. We were lucky enough that the last one came out when I was just old enough to properly appreciate it.
Sure.
And it got the parental seal of approval.
Did she read all 4 books or just the first one and then say, you're good?
At least the first one.
Okay.
I don't remember all the way. I do remember seeing the first movie in theaters.
Yes.
And I don't think I saw any of them beyond that.
Interesting.
Until a few years ago when I was doing a Twilight-themed improv show.
Sure.
You know the show I'm familiar with, parodying specific genres or intellectual properties.
Yeah.
We did Twilight once, and that was during a particularly slow time at my then day job, a mere weeks before I got laid off. Something should have told me. So I remember sitting in my little work-from-home setup with absolutely nothing to do. If you work with me or worked with me, don't listen to this. And I watched the entire Twilight series in a single workday.
Yeah, I believe that. That's about 10-ish hours of movie. Yeah.
Exactly. So there was a lot of everything just kind of coming back to me, remembering the story, the absolutely bonkers story of this series.
Yeah. Yeah, what happened? Where did you, I assume you finished reading book number 4 and you just said, I'm done. I'm not going to touch this franchise again for at least another 10 years? Or how did you ever, go revisit Twilight at any point? Or was there just a long gap in your experience there?
I think it was just a long gap in my experience.
Yeah,
I had finished the books and I went, well, that was fun. Let's go reread the entire Poirot canon.
Oh, sure.
Or whatever it is I was doing at the time. And then when that show came back up, I thought, okay, I should refamiliarize myself with this. And I watched all of the movies and I went, yeah, that is about how I remember that experience being.
Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Good. I love it when that happens, when you think, oh, I haven't seen this movie from my childhood or whatever in a long time. I should rewatch it. And then you remember, oh no, I remember exactly everything about this.
Yeah.
And I am completely bored.
Exactly.
I do that more often. I did that basically as soon as I got Disney Plus. I was like, I should rewatch some of the old Disney Channel original movies. And I sat down and about 15 minutes into Smart House, I was like, it's not bad, but I remember literally everything I remember about this movie is just in the movie. And I'm like, not gaining much by rewatching this.
Phineas and Ferb is a comfort show for that exact same reason, because I could probably recreate most episodes from memory, not having watched them in a couple of years.
Yeah.
They're comfortable and formulaic and just fun.
Yeah.
And Twilight also kind of has that same energy. Nothing is going to really surprise you, but it is nice to go back to.
You speak with the confidence of someone who has not watched the first hour and a half of one Twilight movie with the finest of microscopes, because there is some real devil in them, their details. It is shocking what you can find in this movie if you look close enough.
I'm excited
But Twilight
to go through
in general as a whole, you're right. It is what it is. It it doesn't change all that much. It sounds like we have fairly parallel experiences with Twilight. I did not and still have not ever read the books. But in college, after the last movie came out, I similarly sat down and watched all the movies in one weekend span just to sort of see what all the fuss was about.
Yeah.
And I watched I'm a big movie fan. I will watch any movie, no matter how good or bad it may seem. I just enjoy the experience of watching a new movie and forming a new opinion about something. And so I sat down and watched all 5 movies and wasn't expecting anything because I know this piece. I was thinking about how sort of fortunate I am that I realized at a very early age, some things just aren't made for me, and that's okay. I averted a lot of nerd cringe by sheer luck by realizing early on that some things just aren't for me. And that was the vibe I got from Twilight. And when I watched the movies, I was like, yeah, I get it. We watched approximately 73 seconds of the movie Twilight. It starts, as so many recent episodes have, it starts with Bella driving through the woods, and it ends with Bella driving through the woods. Am I bitter about how much of the last half hour of this movie is just driving at night? Let's find out together. Because, Bella gets in her truck and pulls out of her dad's driveway and drives off, and a blonde man with an immaculate ponytail, not a hair out of place.
No, all tied right back.
Yes.
Gelled down to hell.
No, incredibly. Listeners, you can't see this, but I'm a long-haired man myself. I have my hair pulled back pretty much every day, and it is impossible to keep everything perfectly flattened down. That he has ballerina hair is what it is. It's not in the bun like that, but just the way all of the hair on the top of his head is perfectly laid down.
You could knock it with your fist and you'd get the sound that you get when you close a car door.
Exactly. It is lacquered, I would say. He's a vampire, which means he spends a lot of time running really fast through the forest, and his hair is perfectly laid down, which means he either has vampire power that allows him to keep his hair down, or he spends a lot on product.
And how does he do that if he can't see himself in a mirror? Is that part of the Twilight vampire mythos? I really should have done
addressed. More. No, that's honestly, I haven't gotten deep into the next movies yet, but I'm pretty sure the one part of vampire lore they never touch on is mirrors. And that makes me so sad because honestly, there is fun to be had there.
Yeah. Although I respect that. I also, as an author or a filmmaker, wouldn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
No, I think I've mentioned before that Stephenie Meyer gave herself the gift of picking and choosing what of established vampire lore she was going to be beholden to. Mm-hmm. And there are some things she kept and some things she didn't, and that allowed her to build her own new world and still have fun within the existing sort of cultural framework of what vampires are. But it does make me mad. Something that I just learned about thanks to you that I never knew I should have been mad about, but I am, is that James's hair is incredibly perfect and he can't appreciate it. Because every time I look in the mirror, I just see the bits of my hair that have escaped the ponytail holder.
You and me both. Even when I slick my hair down for a show or for a cosplay, there's always one little piece that does not want to play.
No.
And similarly, have you played Baldur's Gate 3?
A bit, yes.
Has anyone brought up Astarion on this podcast yet?
I believe you would be the first.
Hell yeah. Well, similarly, another vampire, spoilers, I guess, with unbelievably coiffed hair and no ability to have done that himself. Yeah. Who is doing these vampires' hair?
I don't know. That's a good question. And vampire hair has actually, now that I think about it, come up a lot. My voice just cracked like a teenager. Vampire hair has come up a lot on this show because my question, I talked about this with Lily Ludwig, our mutual friend and previous guest of this show. Vampires, they're dead. Does that mean their hair does not grow? And if they get a haircut, are you just stuck with that haircut forever?
I mean, I assume you have to.
Yeah, right?
We know there's the illusion of hair and nail growth after death, but that's not actual growth. That's skin receding.
Right.
So yeah, I think
something I totally knew when I brought it up to Lily Ludwig on that episode. No need to go fact check me.
Yeah, because you aren't naturally growing. No. You aren't creating new cells as a vampire. You are dead but animated. So yeah, I guess you're gonna have to be really cool with that haircut and hope that the trend doesn't change violently in a couple years.
Which means this this jerk James died with good length hair that can be pulled back, and he also I'm gonna stop complaining about hair stuff for a second because this movie is ostensibly about the movie Twilight, but it also means he doesn't have to deal with another of my least favorite parts of having long hair, which is trimming the hair around your ears that never gets too long to get into the ponytail holder and just sort of sticks out like duck wings. It means he just trims those once and it's good forever, and I hate him now.
Lucky him.
Bastard with his gorgeous, supernaturally gorgeous hair. Anyway, that's 8 minutes about vampire hair. We're 1 second into this scene. Bella pulls away from the driveway and she starts driving through the forest again. And as I previously mentioned, too much of the last half hour, the climax of this movie, is just people driving in the dark and having hushed conversations. There's a loud noise, and Edward has jumped onto the side of the moving truck, completely startling Bella.
What a jerk.
In a wild, just again, displaying his complete disregard for her safety.
Yeah.
Your father's gonna forgive you. Why don't you let me drive?
A recurring theme in this movie is Edward sort of seemingly forgetting that Bella can and will die in a car crash. He's a little too laissez-faire, a little too blasé in his vehicle safety. He needs to take a defensive driving course.
But especially for someone who later on in the series is so adamant that Bella hold on to her humanity to not just jump headfirst into being a vampire.
And as someone who's been repeating high school for the last 100-ish years and has surely taken driver's ed a good 15
so many times.
Yeah. Once every 4 years, basically. He should truly know better than this. He's very lucky she didn't swerve into a tree, especially because this is a narrow forest road. It has been raining all night. She could easily hydroplane and then all your plans, your best laid plans are gone.
There go 3 more books.
There go 3 more books. Think about it. 3 books, 4 movies, gone just like that.
I think there is an interesting moment to turn on actor brain for a second.
Go for it.
When Edward first appears, I will preface this by saying the thing I know him from the best.
Who, Edward Cullen or Robert Pattinson?
Sorry, Robert Pattinson. The thing I know him from best is The Lighthouse.
I ain't never intended to be no housewife nor slave in taking this job. And it ain't right. These lodges is more ramshackle than any shanty boys camp I ever seen. The Queen of England's old fancy housekeeper couldn't even done no better than what I done. Because I tell you, I scrubbed this here place twice over.
And I say you did nothing of the sort.
Not what I thought you would have said.
What would you have thought?
Not to profile you too much, but given how much you talked about how much you read as a child, I was expecting to say Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And that does track.
Yeah.
No, I've seen The Lighthouse a few times. My best friend is a
great
huge
movie.
fan. I know in my heart that what happens in his first lines in this scene is just a little bit of accent slip.
Yes.
But I hear the salty sea dog coming out of him in that first, your father's gonna forgive you.
Right.
Which was a terrible impression by me.
Yeah, I hear it. Next time you rewatch Twilight, the whole of it, and not just this minute 13, you're going to hear a lot of that accent slip.
Yeah.
That is a recurring theme across the 5 movies as a whole. What do you call a group of 5? It's not a trilogy because that's 3. A quintilogy? Is that what we're working with here?
I would have said quintet, but
Pentalogy?
I like pentalogy.
I like quintilogy.
Yeah. I'll take either of those.
We're so desperate to talk about something other than Twilight.
Linguistics podcast next?
Oh, maybe. I'm not qualified for that. Yeah, but he is there and he's talking in a very quiet tone of voice that she would not be able to hear him.
Oh, no. She's going down the highway.
That old truck does not have a good engine.
No.
And the kind of soundproofing they had in cars back then, he needs to be shouting at her. But again, displaying disregard for her safety, he opens the door while she's driving. Well, he doesn't. A stuntman in a bad wig opens the door, and then he scoots in and takes over.
Maddening that she does not pull over to cede control of the vehicle.
That is in my notes. Not even pull over. It's an empty road in the middle of nowhere. Just stop.
Yeah.
And let him in. This is unnecessary.
Trying to imagine how the footwork for that is going in order to keep the vehicle moving at an even pace, not even thinking for a second about steering,
right,
but just keeping them steady pressure on the gas or whatever, unless she's got cruise control going. I don't know.
No, and fortunately, old trucks like these definitely, she has a bench seat, so she doesn't have to transfer to a new chair. She can just scoot across, which makes things easier. But like, come on, there's no way it's that urgent that if you stop for 10 seconds for him to use his vampire powers to get in fast, it's not like James is going to catch up with you in that moment.
Yeah, a car is not that much faster than a vampire. Right. Really, the Cullens are showing us in this scene exactly how much they value their dramatics.
Exactly. And that continues. Bella and Edward have some conversation in the car about how Charlie will may or may not ever forgive Bella, and Bella doesn't think he will.
He won't. You should have seen his face. I told him the same thing that my mom told him when she was leaving him.
It's the only way he'll let you go.
Edward says he will forgive her, and there was an opportunity there to say, like, I read his mind, I know it, and he didn't, so he could just be lying for all we know.
Oh, I totally forgot that is Edward's vampire power. He can read minds.
Yeah, the first things they say to each other after he gets in is Bella says Charlie will, or something like Charlie will never forgive me, and Edward says he will, and I took that to mean I read his mind, I guess, and he'd already decided. I don't know.
He will to me reads as I could have read his mind, but I'm just going to trust in the goodness of your father.
Oh, see, and then there's the third option of he's just lying to make her feel better.
Yeah.
Just sort of a don't worry about this.
This is not the time.
Yeah. But that conversation, is brief and not really what the scene is about. It's about driving. But as I was saying, the Cullens demonstrate their commitment to dramatics because there's another loud noise, and Emmett has jumped on the truck as well.
It's just Emmett.
He's just there now.
He is. I'm assuming from a tree or something. I would love to see how the mechanics of how this worked.
Yeah.
But I say this is unnecessarily dramatic because he lands on the roof of the truck and then jumps down into the bed when he totally could have just jumped into the bed of the truck and not scared. And he, to be honest, he doesn't know how strong the roof of that truck is.
He could have just fallen right through.
Yes. Or like dented it or something. Again, incredibly dramatic, incredibly unnecessary.
And not to get back to head fashion.
No, get back to it.
It's irritating to me that his hat stays on the whole time as well.
Impossible.
As if it was placed there with bobby pins.
Right.
I don't wear a lot of hats. Yeah. My hair and my head shape don't really play with them nicely. Sure. But I know how hard it is to keep a hat on.
Yeah, if you get a properly sized hat that is deep enough, goes far, the crown goes down far enough, you could maybe see it holding on long enough, but there's no way.
But not if I'm jumping out of a tree.
No.
That thing's going to fly off.
Famously, if you're in the open bed of a moving truck, that's hat losing territory, absolutely.
God. It's just Emmett. Alice is in the car behind us.
Alice is following in the Jeep. Nothing ever comes of that.
Alice would have a Jeep, and I love that for her.
Well, it's Emmett's Jeep, which I guess makes it...
I guess.
No, because Emmett's with Rosalie. There's too much going on.
There's a lot of them.
No, and this is something we kind of talked about in a previous scene. For those of you with your bite-sized bingo cards that I'm just now making up, go ahead and cross off the box that says we talked about this in a previous episode. I feel like I say that too much, and it makes me wonder, am I repeating myself too often? Listeners, write in and tell me. But in 2 scenes ago, Edward and Bella were driving in Emmett's Jeep. And so they drove to Charlie's house in that Jeep, and then they left in the truck, and someone had to come pick up the Jeep and drive it back home because Edward was jumping into the truck, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, that's inconvenient.
It is, especially when you consider this all starts with Bella and Edward fleeing a baseball game.
Oh, right.
The baseball game in a Jeep. They weren't able to have a conversation like, hey, can you come pick up? I don't know. You know what? Now that I think about it, the Cullens have phones. So it's entirely possible that in the last scene, while Bella was packing and arguing with her dad, Edward was texting Emmett and the whole Cullen family group text. Did they have group text technology in 2008? I don't know.
I hope so.
I don't think so, now that from what I recall.
Hi, Editor Ben here. I got curious, so I looked it up. As far as I can tell from a cursory search, group texting first became possible with the MMS standard, or multimedia messaging, which was released first by AT&T in September of 2009. So I don't think there would have been group texts in 2008, unless you had super secret spy phones.
But he definitely was just out there texting someone, hey, can someone come pick up the Jeep?
Can someone get the Jeep?
Right, drive it back to the house. The things that we don't see in this movie are, to me, 1,000 times more fascinating than the things we do get to see.
Yeah, I want a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead for Twilight. I want to see what's
King
happening.
1.5, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's kind of happening. You know, now that we mentioned it, there is. Are you familiar with Midnight Sun, I believe it's called?
I never read it, but I am aware that it exists.
That's the one that's Twilight from Edward's point of view, right? Mm-hmm. That's not the one that is Twilight just gender flipped.
Is there a Twilight but gender flipped?
Stephanie Meyer wrote, hold on a second. And again, I've talked about this on previous episodes.
No, I'm fairly certain Midnight Sun is from Edward's perspective.
Yeah. Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined by Stephanie Meyer is literally the first book, Twilight, but all the boys are girls and all the girls are boys, and they all have different names that start with the same letter.
Bananas.
We've talked about this I know I've spent too much time about this on a past episode, but if you want to hear all about the adventures of Beaufort Swan, Jono, I encourage you to look this up on your own time because the name choices are insane.
Stephanie, why?
Beaufort Swan, Jono.
Benjamin.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
Bradley.
Yeah. A lot of good boy names that start with B. You want to guess what Edward's name is?
Oh, Elizabeth would be too easy.
Too easy, Jono. Too
Eugenia
normal.
Is too far away.
No, split the difference.
Final guess, Eglantine. I don't know.
Edith Cullen.
I don't like that.
Who would suspect that Edith Cullen is secretly a 100-year-old vampire? What could give it away? Perhaps the fact that her name is Edith?
Edith, yeah.
Alice is following in the Jeep, and the scene ends with this sort of two-car motorcade driving past the one diner in town, and we see Bella's friends, including Anna Kendrick.
There she is.
One day she's going to be on this show, and my life will change. But they're walking out of the diner just at the right time, just having a slow motion laugh, good time session. Did you notice what I noticed about them as they were leaving the diner?
Probably not. What did you notice about them as they were leaving the diner?
Two of them stole mugs. Two of them, Eric, and I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that almost hit Bella with the car. I'm going to pull this up, and you can see that two of the 5 kids walking out of the diner are holding not to-go cups, but full-on ceramic mugs.
No, those are actual mugs.
Yeah. Which is like a classic high school kid thing to do, is take some silverware or a cup or whatever from wherever you are getting fast food with your friends. But it's like, did no one think... Again, actor brain. I like to look at these things and think of what was happening the day this was filmed. And whose decision was it to say, all right, these kids are leaving the diner, so hold some mugs.
Yeah, you brought your mug from home and you're taking it back with you.
Your 2 matching mugs. You're just going to take them to go. And I guess I don't know. It's a small town. Can you just do that and drop off the mug the next time you're there? Is this one of those things
Take a mug, leave a mug?
Yeah, or like the diner sells, some diners with iconic enough mugs will sell ones that you can take home. So maybe they just bought, but just
a plain white mug.
Just walking out with mugs that they should not have.
Who am I to judge? I did theater in high school and still do often. I've terrorized many a diner.
Yeah, this was very much the vibe I'm getting out I'm getting from these 5 kids as they walk out of the diner. It is very theater kid after a show.
Yeah, they just finished Our Town.
They are still in makeup.
It is a fun little moment for Bella to one last look at, the life she could have led before she goes into a literal life or death confrontation with another vampire.
Right. And it's for so much of the movie, she's been weighing the decision of cool vampires or kids who steal mugs, and she's made her choice, and now it's too late. And here she is in a harrowing situation where she just had to have a fake breakup with her boyfriend and kind of her dad. Yeah. And she sees just 5 kids living normal lives, having normal fun, just sort of, again, slow motion laughing as if they are in a commercial or something. It's a ponderous, a very emotionally heavy moment to end the scene on.
Yeah, it's a fun shot. And I will be so honest with you.
Yeah.
I've watched this scene many times since you sent it to me. And it wasn't until I was watching it again on the bus on the way here that I noticed Anna Kendrick and went, oh, those are her actual friends.
Really? Oh, yeah. You mean like the people walking out? It did not occur to you until just now that these people walking out of the diner had been in the movie
Bella's
previously,
friends.
like named characters with speaking roles and everything.
No, for sure. I just the first time I was watching it went, oh, nice, normal people.
Okay,
it's reinforcing the dichotomy, the choice that Bella has to make.
Yeah.
And then on the 152 on the way over here, I went, that's Anna Kendrick. We know these characters.
Yeah. That's Mike and Eric and 3 other characters whose names escape me right now. Because frankly, they've stopped being important. Mike will be important in the next movie, and Anna Kendrick will be kind of important in movie number 4. But we don't need to really keep up with them any further. It's time to wrap things up. So I'm going to ask my last question of the interview portion. This is the first moment I was warning you about where I'll sort of put you on the spot. If you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? And this is also going to be the name of the episode, so make it good.
Oh, boy. Driving at Dusk is going to cover so many different parts of scenes in this part of the movie.
Yeah.
It's also the best thing I can think of right now.
Hey, that's fine.
Yeah. I'll take Driving at Dusk.
Driving at Dusk, or Dad for short.
Dad, hey. I did that intentionally.
Good job. One of the first things I learned in my improv career was if you're ever on stage or in a show and if someone ever compliments on you on an accident, it was not an accident.
Yeah, you did that on purpose.
Yes. You say thank you and you move on. You act as if that was what you always intended. Jono Mammel, if people like the sound of your voice and whatnot and want to perhaps follow you on social media or see you perform a show live, where can they do those sorts of kinds of things?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Jono Mammel, JonoMammel, on Blue Sky at Chekhov's DM. I perform music improv wherever music improv can be found in the city of Chicago, pretty much. Ben and I do Blank the Musical together at the Revival.
Correct, with plenty of other past and future guests.
So many. I do Phony Award-winning musical at I.O. We're about to open Company, and God help me, we're doing Sondheim.
Improvised Company seems so wild to me for reasons that we can talk about after this recording, but
it's just bonkers.
Company is just Stephen Sondheim sitting down and saying to himself, what's the most complicated song structures I can put into one musical? So having to improvise those is bananas to me.
It is bananas.
Good for you.
As far as scripted work goes, you can catch me in a few weeks in Benny Bingo and the Evangelikids at the Annoyance Theater, where I unpack all my religious trauma in about 75 minutes.
I don't know anything about that. I certainly have none of my own. If you want to follow this show on social media, you can do so at bitesizedpod_ on Twitter. No, not Twitter, because I don't have that anymore. On TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. That's the T app I was looking for, where you can see clips of this show that you hear, and sometimes I put pictures with them, so they're a little bit more than what you normally get from the podcast, and maybe one day I'll figure out something else to do there, so you're not just re-listening to episodes of shows you've already heard. Give me some time. If you want to reach out to the show, you can send an email to myfavoritetwilightpodcast.com or send me a message on any of the aforementioned social medias. You can also now, as of last week, 2 weeks ago is from when you hear this, you can follow the show on Tumblr, Bite-Sized Pod on Tumblr. No one _ this time. I'm sort of just for now, re-uploading all the same clips I've uploaded to YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, but I definitely intend to focus more on getting exclusive content there. That's not just other clips of the episode that you've heard, so maybe send me an ask so I can start having things to talk about there. All that information and more, including what kind of merch you can buy, how to financially support the show, can be found at twilightpodcast.com, a website that works again. Thank you so much to my editor, Ben Oxshire, for putting this all together. Thank you to the band's Swimwear department for letting me use their song Mauled to Death as our theme. Give them a listen wherever you find music. And that is it. That's all we have to say. As we always say at the end of every episode.
Oh, no. Edith Cullen.
Edith Cullen. See you next time.
It's just Emmett.